The Kansas City Chiefs don't have a lot left to prove. They're the modern answer to the Patriots of the past 2 decades, and now they're on the path to surpassing them by doing something that no football team in the history of the NFL has ever done. With the three-peat attempt on the horizon, the KC front office knew that they couldn't just run back the same team as last season and expect the same results. So they traded up to add a guy who might turn into one of the most dangerous weapons in the NFL. Today, we're looking at why Xavier Worthy is going to be a cheat code for the Chiefs. Xavier Worthy was born in Fresno, California to his mom, Nikki, and his dad, Xavier Sr., who was also raised with 2 younger siblings, beginning his documented football career as a wide receiver at Central East High School. In addition to football, Worthy ran track and field, developing traits that would help him get to where he is today. As a runner, he ran the 100-meter dash in just 10.55 seconds as a sophomore. In his junior season, Worthy established himself among the greats in California football, catching 55 passes for 992 yards and 16 touchdowns as Central East went undefeated and won its first ever state championship. Despite the 2020 season being canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Worthy was invited to the 2021 All-American Bowl, and although the game wasn't actually played, it's pretty cool that he was on the West Coast team alongside future teammate Quinn Ewers while he was an Ohio State commit. Zay finished his high school career as a 4-star recruit, the 76th ranked prospect in high school football, and the 12th ranked wide receiver in America. After initially committing to Michigan, he took to social media to announce that he would in fact be heading to Texas to play for the Longhorns. At the University of Texas, Xavier wanted the number 1 jersey, which he would have to earn with his on-field performances. As a fast player with a slighter build at 5'11", 165 pounds, Worthy joined the kick and punt return units while also being prepared to play wide receiver. The 2021 Longhorns roster wasn't deep at the position, with lots of offensive love going to the rushing attack of Bijan Robinson and Rashawn Johnson, and receiving targets going to tight end Jatavion Sanders. This meant the opportunity was there for Worthy to flourish, and the freshman, as fans would come to expect, took off running. In 12 games at the highest amateur level, Worthy was on par with his high school numbers, catching 62 passes for 981 yards and 12 touchdowns. The receiving yards and touchdown numbers set new Texas freshman records. He averaged over 80 receiving yards per game, with his touchdown catches averaging 31 yards per reception. Worthy was recognized as the Big 12 Offensive Freshman of the Year and named to the Big 12 First Team alongside several other accolades. In 2022, Worthy didn't improve much, although he also didn't decline. Reunited with fellow 2020 All-American QB Quinn Ewers, Zay had 60 catches, good for 760 yards and 9 touchdowns. He also became the primary Texas punt returner, returning 15 punts for 146 yards. This season was when a lot of Texas fans really started loving Zay as their top weapon, and despite some down production, Worthy still earned second-team All-Big 12 honors. Now donning the number 1 jersey to enter his junior season, Worthy had a lot to prove in 2023. Any doubts around him living up to the hype were quickly banished, as Worthy helped lead the Longhorns to a 12-2 record and their first college football playoff appearance since the modern playoff era began. It was also their first season with more than 10 wins since 2009. On a team that added transfer AD Mitchell from Georgia, Zay had to work harder to stay the number 1 guy, and the result was a career year. In 14 games, he had 75 catches for 1,014 yards, but only 5 touchdowns. He did, however, add a 6th on punt return detail, where he returned 22 punts for 371 yards total, including a 74-yard touchdown against BYU. His 2 big draft stock games came in big spots. Firstly, against Alabama, where he caught 5 balls for 75 yards, including a 44-yard TD while working against shutdown corner Kool-Aid McKinstry, and secondly, against Oklahoma. In their Red River rivalry game, Zay nabbed 8 passes for 108 yards, though he didn't finish in the end zone. Worthy finished his final college season as a second-team All-American punt returner and as a first-team All-Big 12 receiver and returner. Even with a loaded team of weapons, he still managed to stand out, with his blazing speed, incredible control, and above-average versatility keeping him as the man every defense needed to put their best player on. It was evident that he also made an impact on plays that weren't sent in his direction, as his constant pressure on defenses got extra open looks for Mitchell, Sanders, and Brooks, who all had excellent seasons alongside him. When he declared for the 2024 NFL Draft, every team was going to have to take a look at the speedster. Entering the 2024 draft season, the pros and cons of Worthy became very clear. With speed like Tyreek Hill but a frame like Devonta Smith, there were several concerns about his physicality against NFL corners, especially early on. This took him out of the conversation around the top guys like Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, and Malik Neighbors, but he was still a fringe first-round guy. Then, the Combine came around, and Worthy entered into the history books before his professional career even took off. Second, passing John Ross's 2017 record for the fastest official 40 in Combine history. When this was added to his ability to stop on a dime and his display of improving footwork during the Combine, Worthy's draft stock rose, and it wasn't a question of if he'd be a first-round pick, it was simply a question of who wanted the speedster most. The 2024 NFL Draft had a receiver class projected to be on par with the 2004 draft class, which saw 7 wideouts drafted in the first round. That record was eventually tied, but looked unlikely given only 4 had been taken off the board at pick 28 when the Buffalo Bills were on the clock. The top 3 guys, plus Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU, LSU were gone, leaving the Bills their pick of the rest after trading Stephon Diggs to the Texans for way too little, for reasons we still don't fully understand. They needed a new star, and Worthy would have, at the very least, been a good replacement for Diggs or Gabe Davis, both of whom were gone. Now, to look ahead just a bit, I challenge anyone to tell me that Xavier Worthy isn't going to work in Kansas City. I compared his speed to Tyreek Hill earlier, and although he isn't as bulky as the former Super Bowl champ, there's a more recent comp that I feel really good about. Look at what Marquez Valdez-Scantling was assigned to do last season. Over the top, work yourself open, burn. Now imagine if the Chiefs ran those same plays with a guy who can work an motion offense, get himself open, and who can actually catch reliably. His physicality isn't special, but look again at Devontae Smith. He won the Heisman Trophy, and some fans still didn't believe in him. Now, after a few years with NFL trainers, he hasn't shown any failure to play with the big dogs, and he especially hasn't looked like any kind of an injury risk. In addition to how Worthy as an individual will benefit from being in Kansas City, let's think about how perfect this pick is for the Chiefs' kingdom. Obviously, their receiver room is a bit in flux right now, and in the interest of being realistic, I'm projecting that Rashee Rice won't play a good chunk of games this season. Alongside Marquise Brown and Travis Kelce, I don't see a hole in the Chiefs' on-field lineup. If Rice manages to get his act together and play, all the better, as he and Hollywood are meant to be the X and Y guys. Worthy will also join Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney as a great jet sweep and motion option because of his speed and acceleration. Most importantly, look back again at what he did in his final year in Texas and the parallels to the 2024 Chiefs. Above average quarterback play, a superstar tight end, a solid run game that can take over when needed, and other receivers that cover other roles on the field. I know I just described a well-built football team, but look at every other team in the league and see how hard it is to find all of those elements, even if you take out the tight end. And then think about the results I talked about earlier. Worthy doesn't need to be the best guy, or even the third best guy, but he could be one of the key pieces in helping the Chiefs win their third Super Bowl in a row. He's exceptional at drawing the attention of defenses, often requiring the work of a team's top corner to keep him something close to contained. And if he's able to get up to speed in the NFL fast and get that kind of attention from the NFL defensive coordinators, I ask you to imagine a world where Worthy's presence on the field creates one-on-one opportunities for Travis Kelce. Just saying it out loud makes me sick, and I dread the thought that this rookie might fill the exact role Tyreek Hill did on the Chiefs between 2019 and 2021. The Chiefs already look much better than they did last year, and that is a horrible thought if you're a fan of any team outside of Kansas City. Their only major loss of the offseason was L'Jarius Sneed, and his role as cornerback one had already been filled by 2022 first-rounder Trent McDuffie. The draft, as always, was icing on the cake of their roster, with a couple of other potential starters and depth pieces, but what is more ominous is the fact that we saw the Chiefs completely patch every hole in their ship once the playoffs started last year. Specifically on the offensive side, Andy Reid settled into letting the run game carry the load, and we saw peak angry running from Isaiah Pacheco, which I expect more of. Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy are vast improvements over Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Justin Watson as starters, and Patrick Mahomes is firmly in his prime. He will be lining up with all the talent he needs, plus the experience to be one of the best leaders in the history of the game. As NFL fans, we need to come to terms with the fact that the Chiefs three-peat is more than possible, and I don't know if there's a team right now that I would pick to beat them if they played tomorrow. Now that they've been gift-wrapped the new fastest receiver in football, they don't have to rely on their defense like they did last season. With the addition of Xavier Worthy, the Kansas City Chiefs are a team that can beat you in every single way. Thanks for watching. What do you guys think about Xavier Worthy as an NFL rookie, and do you like his fit on the Chiefs? Can they win their third in a row? Let me know in the comments.